Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the RFU Domestic Law Variation Tackle Height National Coherence session number 4. My name's Gareth Thomas, and I'm one of the match official managers at the RFU. I have responsibility for the National League match official team. Tonight, I'm delighted to welcome Tim Allatt, who's a National League match official referee, part of our National One group. So he'll be with us tonight to look at the clips that we've got for you. We've also got Owen Taylor on the call and Michael Patz in the background as well. We'll get started in just a second with the clips, but over to you, Owen.
Yeah, evening everyone. Obviously, one of a couple of calls, so hopefully see some familiar faces in the chat box. Yeah, really good opportunity to see a slightly different session tonight. But I'll let Gareth and Tim get stuck into the content on that.
Okay, so Tim, just before we get stuck into the content, how have you? How's your experience been in the tackle height so far this season?
It's been generally very positive. Players are really trying to get low, which for me personally has resulted in, I think so far this season, I've given one yellow card for a genuine high tackle. And I think overall the tackle height's been lowered. Some teams have clearly practiced it, and you can tell those that have really worked hard in training pre-season and early season. And so that's been very positive. Me personally, in games, I've not had any head-on-head contact yet, touch wood, and hopefully that'll carry on for the rest of the season. So it's been generally very positive.
It's good to hear. Okay, Owen, are we ready with the slides?
Yeah, I'm just going to be coming across now. Yeah.
Okay, just first couple from us is just there'll be a little reminder of the law updates and the tackle height law updates. I'm not going to read through those in full, and there'll be a reminder of the sanction framework. So again, not going to read through everything on there. Just like to point out here that everything here on the law reference, law updates, and everything on the tackle height sanction framework can be found on England Rugby's Tackle Height Hub. So hopefully you've all seen that previously, and there's a lot of resource on there now. It's currently stuff being added all the time. So what we're going to do tonight is, again, like the first 3 calls, we're going to do a bit of a coherence exercise. And I think we've got 5 clips that we are going to look through tonight. Same as before, they'll be played twice in real time, and then they'll be slowed down. What we'd like you to do then is sort of consider the following questions, really. So what sanction would you give, if any? How would you describe the actions of the player? How confident are you that you've made an accurate and credible decision? And then we'll talk through the agreed outcomes at the end. And just a reminder, again, like the first 3 sessions, just consider the desk principle. So describe, explain, sanction, and confirm. Okay. There'll be polls launched, and please use the chat box where possible, and we'll try and answer some of those questions in there wherever possible. So, Owen, if we're ready, we'll move on to the first one.
So just a bit of a shout out that all the games from tonight come from the same game, which is a Counties 3 Yorkshire game between Wheatley Hills and Barnsley. And just a bit of a thank you to the Yorkshire Referee Academy for supplying the footage. Quite nice to go through all the same game tonight and see how potentially the referee could manage things in one game in particular. So I'll put the first one on, and I'll let you, Gareth and Tim go through these with us.
Okay, Tim, I'm going to put you on the spotlight now. So we've seen that clip a couple of times. We've seen it slowed down. What is it you're seeing there, Tim, and how would you describe that? What sanction would you be giving there?
So I'm seeing the balls in open play, so the DLVs will apply. I'm seeing the ball carrier going into contact against 2 defenders, both of whom are upright. They've got a clear line of sight. There's no significant change by the ball carrier. So we've clearly got contact above the sternum. So we're coming into our DLV high tackle framework. We're not at head contact, and we're looking at who's initiated that contact. And as we said, we've got two tacklers there, both upright. They've initiated that high tackle. So we then come to the question of foul play. Do we have foul play? And the answer is clearly yes. So we move on to our next question of degree of danger. Both tacklers, very passive. There's no big shot going in there at all. They're both in that passive mode of absorbing the contact. So the degree of danger is fairly low. So for me personally, I'm at penalty only on this one.
Okay, excellent. Good stuff. Owen, have we got the results of the poll here? Yeah.
Yeah, we have. Sorry, I'm struggling just to find my mute button every now and again. So we've had a fair few things that have come in. So if we gather the results, 100%. It's the first time we've had it on these coherence exercises, and it's kind of a credit to everybody on the calls and the work that you've been putting in over the last 6 weeks. We're at 100% coherence. 100% of people agreeing with Tim. Nobody's at play on. Nobody's at yellow card. And nobody's at red card. And like I say, that's the first time that's happened. So that's amazing. And from a confidence perspective, which I think is equally as important, we've got 2/3 of people are either a 3 or a 4. So there's a little collection of people that are at 1s and 2s out of 3, but the vast majority at 3 and 4, which is kind of very confident.
Excellent. Good start. Okay, so and again, look, I agree with everything that you've said there, Tim, in terms of explanation. So definitely. So Owen, can we show the agreed outcome as to what that is, please? Yeah, so from us, agreed outcome was a foul play, yes. How would you describe the actions of the players? Look, always upright, contact has been made above the base of the sternum. There's no late or low change in body height from the ball carrier, and it's sort of passive contact from the defender. So basically we're at a penalty there. So great start, well done. If we move on to the second clip.
So I'll just put the polls out now, GT, if we want to work out what we're seeing.
Okay, thank you. So we're just launching the polls there. So again, Tim, put you back in the spotlight in the chair here. What is it you're seeing there, Tim? How do you describe that, and what sort of sanction are you giving on this one?
So we've had a pick and go from the scrum and a pop pass there. So we're in open play. DLVs apply. Ball carrier goes into contact, and that first defender there, I think it's red 12, is pretty much bolt upright. And he makes contact above the sternum. So we're in this high tackle framework. Who's initiated that tackle? Height, that's the tackler for me, because he's even more upright than the ball carrier. That ball carrier doesn't significantly change his height, so there's no late and low problem there. So have we got foul play? The answer to that one's yes, because 12 red is bolt upright and he makes contact above the sternum. Again, similar to the previous clip, when we talk about degree of danger, he's very, very passive. I mean, ultimately, he kind of loses that contact, really, and the ball carrier carries on another couple of meters. So the degree of danger is low for me, and that puts me at penalty again.
Okay. And Owen, do we have the results of the poll yet?
Yeah, so we have about 70% of people agreeing with Tim. We do have a bit of a chunk of people at yellow card, Tim. I think it might be important for kind of just where we are at this moment in time with our coherence. Why is that not a yellow card for you? And what language would you use on a game day to potentially, we talked about the desk principle. How would you explain what has happened?
So yeah, I'm not at yellow card. There's no head contact there for me. So we're in this high tackle. The tackler's not wildly out of control. He's in control of his actions. He's very, very passive. And again, just to reiterate what I said, he kind of loses that incident, really. The tackler carries on a bit. So it's a passive upright tackle. Very low degree of danger, let's say. The heads are in a similar space when that contact's made, which is what we're trying to eradicate with this law. But for me, there's no need to escalate to a yellow, because for a yellow, I'm really looking at someone out of control with force and a real dominant hit above the base of that sternum and hitting up into that ball carrier, which we haven't got here.
Yeah, so just a key point there, Tim, that obviously we are looking at DLV and we can get yellow cards for these tackles, but we would be looking for a tackle that's got high force. It is probably out of control and it is a bit more dangerous. So 70%, I mean, that coherence wise, that's excellent. Again, still really high. So we'll look at the agreed outcome for this clip. So was there foul play? Yes, there was. How would you describe the actions of players? Well, always upright. Again, contact made above the base of the sternum. And again, no late and low. And no change in body height from the ball carrier, passive contact from the defenders. So again, here we are at a penalty. So well done on that for 70%. So that's excellent. Okay, Michael, I believe you've got a question for us. If you've got that one.
Yeah, of course, Gareth. Just a couple of observations from people. One was a question around they thought that the 12 may be trying to rip the ball and not actually attempting the tackle. So I guess we need to consider that as well as part of our decision-making process. And I think Tim's covered that off. And then from Martin, he says that as the player's head, the tackler's head was in the same airspace, he felt, although there was no contact, that's why he sort of went for yellow. And again, the rationale is there around that. And I think people have got to be confident in what they're seeing and how they're explaining it. So the explanation needs to match the sanction. One question, GT, that's come in is around with the change in weather we're getting now, is around the ball carriers. And if they're sort of slipping on soft ground, etc., how do we feel we may need to sort of consider our refereeing dipping into the tackle? So that's that sort of late and low area. Obviously, the pitch has been really dry up till now, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question, whoever's put that in. But I think those of us lucky enough to play or referee on 4Gs, hopefully not going to have that problem. But as we know, up and down the country, we are going to have a lot of pitches that start to cut up. Probably in November, probably not going to happen so much in October with the balmy weather that we're experiencing at the moment. But it's a great question. I think it's really up to you. If you think there's been foul play, you've got to make that call. If you think that's that's an accident and there's no foul play, that would be the advice from me. Look, if it's just a genuine slip, there's no foul play there. So we've got to really consider the actions there. So if we've got foul play, referee it as we've got foul play. If it's not foul play, then I think we've got to give that leeway to the players, because they are going to unfortunately lose their footing on these grounds, and it would probably be called a rugby incident. Tim, is that what you would?
Funnily enough, GT, I was at Nottingham University today, and it was chucking it down for most of the game. We had a late and low early in the game where a Loughborough player had really dipped and gone below his hips. As soon as the blew, he knew what he'd done. And then as the ground got worse during the game, we had two incidents which are exactly what's just been described, where the player's gone to change direction, the ball carrier's gone to change direction, the tackler's lined him up but got low, and the ball carrier's feet have just gone, and we've had contact above the sternum. Thankfully, no one was injured on either occasion, but the contact was there and we were able to play through. and the players fully understood that, with a good explanation of no one's at fault, play on, lads. And thankfully no one's hurt. It did happen today twice, and it's been that kind of day, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think we're moving into that period now where we're going to see a lot more of that. So, Michael, thanks for that question. Great one there. Owen, can we move on to the next clip if we're ready? Okay, and when you're ready, Owen, if you can launch that poll, that'd be fantastic. So a little bit of a different one. So Tim, what are you seeing in this one? What's the observation on this clip here?
So again, we're in open play. DLVs apply. Sack the hooker for that throw. But the ball carrier's tidied it up, gone into contact, and we've got a tackler that's done an arm grab. He's grabbed hold of the ball carrier by the arm. He's not made any contact above the sternum up to the neck on the torso. So for me, we're not in the high tackle framework here because that's not happened. So for me, this is a play on. Okay,
excellent. Owen, any luck with the results of the poll?
Yeah, look, so we've got sort of 30 odd results starting to come in, and they're still ticking in while I keep refreshing. We're at about 95% play on, which is great. So hopefully everybody who has said play on has read the implementation guidelines around what is and what isn't foul play and above the sternum, etc. So obviously it says in that law application guidelines that an arm grab shouldn't be considered as foul play, because if we take this as an example, there's no two heads in the same airspace. I think it was Martin in the chat said about heads being in the same airspace, and that's what the DLV is looking to try and do, removing that situation. So here with a simple arm grab, we don't see that. So yeah, most people are at play on, and a good level of confidence as well. I think we're at just shy of 85% people with 3 or 4. So yeah, really good stuff. Fantastic.
Excellent. So again, 95% is fantastic. And I think, look here, was there foul play? Tim said, no, there's not. There's no foul play here. And great explanation by Owen. Arm grab. Look, fundamentally, this is not reckless or dangerous. So this tackle would not be considered dangerous. So it is play on. It's just one of those tackles that we don't have to go after here. So yeah, thank you. Any questions in the chat box, Michael?
Yeah, just one. There's obviously a second player comes in there who sort of puts their hands on the back of the ball carrier and assists them to ground, if I can use that terminology. Patricia's asking, what about that second player? How would we view them? Just to reassure people, I think, GT.
Yeah. Okay. So the second player, look, whilst you probably technically say that contact there is above the sternum because it's on the back of the player, what you've got to consider is that really foul play? Is that reckless or dangerous to that player? And I sit in the camp that it's not. Tim, how have you been refereeing these, the ones with the assist player coming up there and grabbing that back, assisting them to ground?
Yeah, I think I look at what the actions of that player is trying to do. He's just trying to pull him down so he can get in a positive position for a steal, a jackal. That's the intention of the player. We're not adding any danger to that situation by the player doing it. So for me, it's play on for that player as well, trying to get involved in there. There's no danger whatsoever.
Yeah. It's just not foul play for me on that one. I really appreciate the question, but it's just not dangerous. It's not reckless. So we move on. I think if we did penalise that kind of offence, there'd be a lot of penalties in the game, and it's something that, look, it's just not foul play. So that's where I'd go with that with Michael, if that's all right.
Of course. There's nothing else in it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, Owen, we'll move on to clip 4 if we can. And again, Owen, if you'd like to launch the poll, that would be great. So, Tim, fourth clip here. What are you seeing here? And I'd be interested in your view of the referee's position as well as a side story.
Yeah, so just cover that off first. Side story, he's short side, needs to work a bit harder to get around the corner so he can see this. It's something we're finding as referees. We need to work a bit harder to give ourselves better angles because we've got more to look at now. But for me, so we're close to a ruck, but this is not a pick and drive. So DLVs apply. The scrum half or whoever that is playing that position pops the ball up. So we're not on pick and drive. DLVs apply. I've asked a question of myself, has contact been made above the sternum? For me, it's a no. The first tackler is pretty much on his knees or is on his knees. And there's no contact there above the sternum for me. So I'm not going through the rest of the process. It stops there. There's no foul play. There's no contact above the sternum. It's play on for me, this one.
Yeah, okay, good answer. And I think really key point about we've seen this in the national leagues around referee positioning. It is something this year we've got to work. And I think we realised this, when the law change was made. We do have to work a lot harder as referees because we've got to be in that key position to see this. Also, as well, I mean, the players sort of diving through the space here. Had he not moved, he might have got taken out himself. So, yeah, thanks for that. Owen, any joy on the coherence in the polls?
Yeah, so we've got about 80% of people are at play on, so it means we've got about 20% at penalty. While Gareth and Tim just kind of have a chat through our agreed outcomes, it'd be interesting to see why people do think that it's a penalty. Whether and it might be who are we penalising? If you're seeing above sternum contact from the tackler, or are you potentially considering this as a late and low? It'd be interesting to see. So what I'll do is I'll just run it again, and if people wouldn't mind just populating the chat box, obviously Michael will pick that up.
Yeah. And then for us, look, I think the agreed outcome was the foul play? No. Why are we saying that? There is no contact above the base of sternum. We don't feel this is a late and low carry from the ball carrier. And the key point, which Tim highlighted really well, sort of key learning point, this is not a pick and drive. Pick and drive is not an equation, so it is open play. So that's where we are here. Owen, if you just want to share that one as well. Michael, anything in the chat box around the 20% that feel that could be a penalty?
Yeah, just a couple of bits around how clubs may not be aware of this. Obviously, as referees, match officials, we're probably more acutely aware of the intricacies of the law, but certainly the feeling from a couple of people is that they've been challenged during games from coaches who weren't aware that there is a difference there. So I think again, there's that messaging piece, and again, it's just the learning and developing as we go through, and we can be champions for that as well as we're doing our games. I mean, Tim was at Nottingham's today. I know OT was out doing a game. I was down in Hereford this afternoon in the rain as well, Tim. Doing a college game. So it's again how we communicate with the coaches and the players to widen that understanding of the law.
Yeah, and I think on that, we've got a real positive network of tackle champions now, and they've been doing some sterling work getting out into the clubs and working with players and coaches and referees, hitting some fantastic numbers going through. But this is a really big change this season, and we've still got to continue. It's not going to be embedded at this point in the season. Every game I've been to of this season, we've always had questions and conversations around this tackle after the game. And I anticipate that will be there for most of this season because it is a learning point for both players, coaches, and referees. So, yeah, once you're out there on refereeing on a Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, have that conversation with the coaches. Just help them understand it, educate them if they're not aware of it. It's part of our role, I think, and anything we can do to make the game better and help their understanding is only going to be good for us moving forward. So, great stuff. Okay, we'll move on to the fifth and final clip, Owen, if that's all right. Okay, and whilst Owen launches the poll there, Tim, again, over to you. What is it you're seeing in this clip here, and how are you describing this, and what would your sanction be?
We're in open play, so the DLVs apply. Ball carrier catches it, takes a couple of steps towards the defender, who comes in and is always upright and does make contact above the sternum. So we're in the high tackle process. Who's initiated that contact? For me, it's the red player. Foul play question, yes, because he's always upright and there's no attempt to drop at the hips. He's not looking to go low at all here. Degree of danger, again, for me is low. It's quite a passive tackle. There's no dynamism of hitting up there and putting any force through that area above the sternum. So I'm at penalty here, but I'll add a caveat. This is certainly the third clip we've seen from red of high tackles. And I think it's 12 again. So that,
second one from this player.
Yeah, second one from this player. So it's going to be down to what the referee's done with this. And it looks to me, it might be the camera angle selling me a dummy, but it looks like we might be in sort of 22 territory, potentially, if that camera's on halfway. So if the referee has helped the situation by setting up what the sanction's going to be on the next one, we could be at yellow card, but for totting up in terms of high tackles.
Okay. So you definitely will be looking to manage this one here, Tim, and get that message across to the captain and the player, yeah?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if we look at the clock timer, I think this is the latest we've been in the game at 37 minutes. So we're getting towards that time of we need to be changing behaviours so that we can set up a better second half in terms of tackle height. Yeah. So if we've not already done so, this is probably going to be your final warning against red. Speak to the captain.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. And Owen, what have we got in the coherence for the poll here?
Yeah, look, we've got 75% of people are at play on, which, again, it really high numbers. We've got a very small handful who are at yellow card. Again, we don't know whether or not that's because it's standalone. By all means, people throw something in the chat box. You might have noticed that we're in the first half, like I say, again, that it's red 12 again, 35 minutes in. If that's your rationale for a yellow card, then that's absolutely fine. I think it's good that Tim's talking about looking to manage this situation. Myself and Tim obviously operating in the same leagues. We've probably both seen a little bit of an influx in penalty count around this stuff. So we're looking to try and manage things where we can, use our captains. Again, if we consider the desk principle, can we bring the captain in and go, look, this is another stand-up tackle against red 12. We're in the 22. Go and speak to your players and talk about tackling lower. I think it's a really good opportunity for us to use our good player management in this situation. And from a confidence perspective, amazing to see. We're up at 90%. 90% people at 3 and 4, which is perfect.
So just to clarify, you meant 75% of people are at penalty kick here, not play on.
Penalty kick, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, look, great answer from Tim there. So, look, was there foul play? Yes, there was. How would we describe the actions of the player? 12 is always upright. Contact is made above the base of the sternum clearly. There's no late and low. There's no change in body height from the ball carrier. This is dynamic, but he is always in control. So we've not got a player out of control here. And then look, just think about like what Tim said here. This is a third high tackle that we've seen in this game so far. Second one against 12. How are we going to influence this now moving forward as referees to try and change that behaviour? So fantastic. Okay, Michael, any questions coming through the chat for this one? Or any other general ones?
More just some observations, Gareth, around particularly this clip, whether a few people coming in feeling that this was an opportunity to have actually yellow carded the player for the repeat offences. They felt that there's opportunities to warn earlier. And again, it's our context and our reading of the game at the time. It's great we see these clips, but actually in 37 minutes of rugby, do you recall that you've had 3 of these? And is it just that trigger? So we appreciate we're looking to remove that head contact and the propensity of it. So whether we're at penalty kick or if we have already given that warning, then we could be at yellow card, and that's understandable from that perspective. And it's great people are thinking this through in a positive way.
Yeah. Just one comment on that one. I think it's really important if we are sort of thinking about going to yellow that we clearly are sort of providing that story, that picture to the captain and the player. We don't want to be pulling this out of the hat and just saying, oh, there's your yellow card because that's your third one, if we've not warned them already. So I think it is really important that you tee that up. And look, this one could be the perfect one because, as Tim said earlier, this is in the 22. So if this is your one that if you've already warned them and you've made it clear that any more high tackles and you might have to do something different, this is your perfect one. But I think it's really important that we don't just go tick, 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 and then get the card out. We've got to really put that warning so the player and the captain understand where they sit with you as a referee. Anything else in the chat box, Michael?
No, that's it essentially, Gareth. And I think people, I may not have given the essence of that, but people are saying that you've got to give that warning first and tee it up as the way you describe it there, Gareth. So absolutely, I think everyone's pretty coherent on that, which is great. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so that's the fifth clip from us tonight. So I think these have been designed to be short and sharp. So there's some useful resources on here, some QR codes up for you. We mentioned the Tackle Height Hub earlier, so if you've not been on that, please do go and have a look at that. The sanction framework is on there. I'm sure you've all seen it, but if you haven't, go and read it. Some of the key terminology on there will help you understand if the penalty that you've given is just a penalty or it should be something that moves towards the yellow card. Have a look at the Keep Your Boots On website. And if you are an unqualified referee, we've got our refereeing courses starting currently at the moment. So get yourself onto GMS Course Finder because we can always do with more referees in the country. Thank you for listening in. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. I'd just like to say thanks to Tim for giving up his time this evening. Really appreciate your work, Tim.
No problem.
Thank you to Owen and Michael. And we'll see you all again in a couple of weeks for another session as part of the Coherence session. Good night. Stay safe.